Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing? Me and Rose were just sitting here talking about pain and pain meds and all the stuff that we go through. A lot of times we can suppress the things that we're going through with our mind, with our brain. Rose is a certified brain coach. Now, you know your nicknames are brains because you're smart, heady people that get it. What does she do? How does she do what she does? Why does she do what she does? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, Rose?
I'm good. How you doing, April?
I can't complain about a cotton picking thing. I'm glad that you made it through the hurricane in Florida. I want to touch on that just a little bit because I know that that's a mind warp. Had you ever been through anything like that before?
Yes, I lived in Florida when I was younger for about 12 years, and we had several hurricanes. And my oldest daughter was under the age of 5, like 2 to 5, and we had major hurricanes back then. And it didn't seem to bother me as much as now. This one wasn't as bad, but it was as bad enough for me to flee. I left. I ran. I
Well,
took off.
I worked for the American Red Cross and I was the outreach coordinator. And my job was to go and educate the community on how to sustain themselves in the event of a natural disaster. What people fail to realize is number one, brains, they're not coming to get you. You got to take care of yourself. Self preservation is the law of the land. When you're on an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first. Always have your necessities, your medication, your dog food, change your clothes, all that. Have a bag in the car. You know, always put your important documents on the thumb drive. That's what I do. Who's got time? Did you have time to go through your safe and get your will, your trust, your insurance? You don't have time. You've got to evacuate. But what they don't understand too is the trauma, Rose, that happens after that. They're not on mainstream media right now, but do you realize all the contaminated water that these people have ingested? Do you realize that they don't have jobs to go to? That their kids' school is messed up? That their mind is messed up? My sister-in-law had to be evacuated during Hurricane Katrina with her 300-pound self. Could you imagine the trauma? When you're dealing with that, you are a certified brain coach. How do people adapt? Because I'm not going to say you can't turn that off. They say, oh, trauma, get over it. I don't know how that works. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how people can adjust.
So let's address the adjust first. And it's really not that you get through it or get over it. You kind of grab it and it becomes a part of who you are now because it's just something that you once survived. But in order to get past survival and into thriving, you actually have to allow your brain to decide what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're not going to ever get it. And if you're in survival mode, your brain doesn't really kick into innovativeness unless you're telling your brain to. So a lot of people don't evacuate because they feel like whether they leave or they stay, it's going to be the same. And that's
Hmm.
not true. That's not true. So they think, we'll hunker down. we'll
Yeah, I
get
hear them say that. Right.
we'll get through this. And I'm thinking, a hurricane isn't like a tornado. I was raised in Michigan, and a tornado, debris and stuff might hit you in the head. That's why they always tell you to get down on the ground. But with a hurricane, it's like a water tornado. I mean, you'll drown.
Wow.
So for me, I'm pretty close to the ocean. I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty good swimmer. But I'm not going to take that chance, especially when I have pets. And so I just threw my pets in the back seat and I was due to be in Tennessee, and of course the flights were canceled, so I just started driving. And I eventually got there. I stayed at another friend's house in Georgia for the night, and then the next day I continued on. But while I was continuing on, like you said, a lot of businesses were out. My friends' uh, shop over in Naples had some damage. My significant other's job was out of commission for a little while. They worked from home for the week. Just a lot of people, houses, and even my horses were injured. One of them had a cut from some debris, and of
Wow.
course, where they were standing was full of water for pretty much a week, maybe
And
a
you
week.
couldn't put them in the car like you could put the dogs.
Nope. So they went in their stalls, and the people who live at the ranch took care of them um,
Wow.
for the 3 days that I was gone. But when I returned, um, of course, we got them looked at and everything, and they're good now. But if it would have been worse, you really don't know how bad it can be, because different areas, there's little tornadoes that spin off on the outskirts of the eye. And
Mhm.
if you're in that track, you can have some major damage. And there was major damage for a lot of people. So while my house was great and I came back to minimal trees down, that kind of thing, I'm still thankful I left, because if it were that we had some major flooding, like they were thinking 8 to 13 foot, I just, no, I could not put my dogs on a surfboard and go. I just couldn't
No.
do it. So
And
I know,
I was talking to some people. I was in an event the other day. I was talking to some people too about um, reinventing your life. Okay, you live in California and you sell this $2 million home, and you're gonna go down to Florida, and you're gonna, live in one of these retirement communities and not pay taxes and all that. And then everything that you have worked for is totally gone, and you're 70 years old.
that's
You're
right.
not able to regroup. Mentally, what we have to do is always flex that brain muscle. I've been studying nutrition, and one of the things that she brought up was, I didn't know you could have a brain cramp. I would think that would be a headache, you know, but you can literally have cramps in your brain. We're not talking about brain fog. We're not talking about dementia. We're not talking about depression, anxiety. All of these things go on in the mind. Tell me, what is your zone of genius and what is a certified brain coach?
So a brain coach is like your personal trainer.
Mm,
It's for your mind. So it helps you flex those mental muscles, and it fine tunes your focus. It crushes your stress like a pro. And whether you're battling brain fog or anxiety, or you just want to level up your mental game, um, there's neuroscience that's backed, and these hacks that we can kind of go through, they help you think sharper, you feel better, and they handle your life like the curveballs that have come from a baseball game. A lot of times you think it's coming over here, but then all of a sudden you got to catch it over here. That's how brain hacking goes. So a lot of times we're rewiring your brain so that you can be the boss of your emotions. And when you live your best, most balanced life, you feel better. So it's like a professional that helps you optimize your brain health and
mm.
kind of your mental performance. So it's tailored strategies, like techniques, help you to focus better, and they help you to improve your cognitive function better. So mental memory,
Give us
problems.
one or two. Give us one or two examples.
So neuro insights help you. Let's talk about challenges in life. How's that sound? Like lifestyles.
Like we don't always have them. Exactly.
Like decision making habits, self support, exercises that you do to make life better. Why would you do that? Either you have anxiety, or you have depression, or you have a challenge that you need to change in order to get what you want. And usually it's based on interacting. So when we interact in a way that gets us what we need or what we want, without manipulation, without self-sabotaging ways, but with confidence, you're actually working from that power of the brain and body balance. And you can achieve emotional balance and mental fitness through the growth of that bridge, that gap, that brain and body gap. And so when you have, let's think of a good challenge. Like, let's say you have a concussion. Or let's say you're in an accident. We'll just use me. So you're in an accident, you have a concussion, and you lose your short-term memory. Bridging the brain and body can help you understand where you need to go with what you have. So what neurotransmitters need to be boosted in order for you to get your brain back on track. It also helps you understand what your brain needs in order to recover. So a lot of it's nutritional value, exercise, the way you think, what you think about, you bring about. All of these different ways of improving yourself is basically what you put in your mouth and what you do with your body and what you do with your mind helps you heal. And that, bridging that with your heart, if you can put that in sync with your heart, that's from your core. Who and how you are as a human being really works strongly to help you heal your whole body.
Wow.
If it aligns with your moral compass, if it aligns with your strategies, your value set, your standards, all of these help you kind of modify your identity to survive the experience you're going through. But eventually, you've modified your identity enough that you actually aren't the person you want to be. You're actually the
Have you
person.
modified it or have you altered it? Because you're going to have to alter it too, because you're going to rise up and greet a whole new individual after you go through all of this metamorphosis of change.
Right. So a lot of times people are like, I could have been, I should have been, I would have been, all of these different things. And with brain therapy, you get back to the core belief of who and how you are as a human being and your moral compass. And it's not what I want for you, it's what you want for you. And so as a brain coach, we look at the life experiences and how they may have modified or altered the way you do business for yourself. And if you're in survival mode, your brain is happy. It's not going to change because you are surviving. And that's the brain's job, is to help you survive. And so if you want to do more and go from surviving to thriving, you actually have to make that decision. And once you make that decision, you get the discipline you need. And once you have discipline, you then have momentum. And from that comes motivation. And of course, it just continues to roll. But that's how brain therapy works. It creates a path to progress for you. It charts your path to progress so that eventually you get to where you want to be without manipulation and without sabotaging
Well, do
yourself.
you incorporate other modalities like a emotional freedom technique, maybe some hypnotherapy, maybe some talk therapy? Sometimes people need medication.
All of the above. Now, I don't do any medication. If I think that you may, so if your feet are in Colorado, I'm actually a brain therapist. I'm a brain coach worldwide. But if your feet are in Colorado, I can do EMDR as well as all of the things that you mentioned.
Now, what
If
is EMDR? What is that?
eye movement and desensitization and reprocessing.
Ah,
So that actually is amazing. And I recommend it for anybody who's had any trauma or if they have lifestyle changes that they want to commit to. So a lot of times, like think New Year's Eve resolutions. The reason why they don't really work is because you haven't addressed the habit or the underlying reason why you want this thing.
mm,
And
mhm.
so a lot of times with brain therapy, we can work through that, or brain coaching, we can work through that. Now, if you're thinking about um, changing something really small, brain coaching, like study habits or getting along with your spouse or your children, brain coaching really helps. But if it's something major like schizophrenia or things like that, I would actually recommend that you go to a psychiatrist. You may have a better quality of life with some medical interventions. Not
Mhm,
everything is
mhm,
medical.
mhm.
There's a lot of medical reasons why people may be experiencing challenges mentally.
Right.
And yeah, it could be as simple as deficiency. So I always recommend when people are having symptoms that are beyond what they think is controllable, go get your labs checked. Because a
Right.
lot of times D3 could give you low D3, you can feel like you are in depression. Low iron, you can actually have some interactions that can cause you to escalate without even understanding why am I so upset over this?
Right. Right. Well,
Potassium.
that's great advice. That is great advice.
Mhm.
Um, what would you recommend to a person that's just kind of feeling a little off? Like you said, go and have your labs checked, but to decide that they might want to enlist a brain coach, what would be some of the signs or symptoms that you would say? Some of the things that you've already listed, brain fog or maybe depression, or you want to change study habits. That was a good one too. Change your study habits. You got a lot of college, you know, uh, people in school or trade schools or whatever that, because that was me. I was the party animal.
You were.
But yeah, but the study habits and the discipline. It might be weight loss. It might be exercise. It could be a lot of different things.
I have helped quite a number of people with body image and how they eat and why they eat and different habits that they've grown up with. So a lot of times it's comfort. They're eating for comfort, but there's so many different things. Most people that come to a brain therapist are coming because they're not interacting in a way that gets them what they need at work, at home,
Mm-hmm.
their relationships, whether it's with their child, with their significant other, with their teacher, with their professor, with their friends, um, or they're trying to get engaged. And it really is based on how they interact with other people. And the interaction that started with COVID was everything went online. And so a lot of people even lack continuous eye contact, right?
Right.
So the body speaks louder than your words a lot of times. And when you're trying to be the perfect person, be online, and you're on camera all the time because you're in school or whatever, a lot of that has altered the way people genuinely speak to each other. And so people come to a brain coach to really understand interacting to get what they want, interacting to get what they
Mm-hmm.
need. And so it's usually self-support, self-expression, self-worth, self-identity, different things that are causing challenges in their life. And they feel if they could interact in a different way, it would help. And so we break that down. That's usually the people that come to a brain coach. The other is trauma. So I do a lot of first responders. I do a lot of marriage. I do a lot of mom and daughters. Um,
Mm-hmm.
father and sons, a lot of people that are interacting, and as they grow or they get separated, like they go away, a lot of times our attachment is just affected in a way that gives you grief, just like losing a job or losing a partner,
Absolutely.
child.
Absolutely.
And so when people go away to college or we end up with empty nest, a lot of empty nesters get brain coaching because they don't have anything wrong with them. They don't
Right.
need medication. They need to figure out how to have a lifestyle change or a life transition. So
That's what
life,
happened to me when my mother passed away. Uh, I had a routine up at a certain time, medicating her, bathing her, cooking, doing the podcast, giving her lunch, all this. And then when she passed away, there was these huge gaping holes in my day.
yeah.
And it took me some time, set aside the fact that I was also grieving her loss, but what am I going to do? So I picked up a great book, Atomic Habits. I love that book. And it taught me to incorporate other things. Okay, so the time that I was cooking and getting her dressed, that's my reading time. I'm going to incorporate a different habit. Uh, you know, Multitasking, or sometimes just being silent. Sometimes just being quiet, staying in the moment, appreciating appreciating what you have. Gratitude is huge. You know, it is huge. So we've talked about all of the heavy lifting that you've done. If I came there to visit you in Florida and it wasn't a hurricane, where would you take me? What would we do?
So, well, we'd have to go to the beach for sunrise. The sunrise
Mm.
at the beach is God's painting work for me. And I try to go every morning, but I'd be lying if I told you I did. There's just no way I can do that.
Yeah.
So, we do have a beach where we can take the dogs and walk. And sometimes I'll grab one, but if I leave the other one home, they howl until I get back. So I try to not do that. But I really do enjoy walking the beach in the morning, so we'd go do that. And then there's a couple of local places, but I love to go kayaking. I love walking the river as well. There's a couple of neat little places to go have lunch and brunch right on the river. And there's some,
Well, see, you're a water enthusiast, honey. I need you to take me to the mall.
you
Yeah,
know,
I need to go to the spa. I will hike with you, but I have had some trauma when it comes to water. I have been
mm,
close to drowning 3 times. And so,
okay.
yeah, and so me and water, no.
Well, we would find
And
out at the King Center,
and
and
you
we
know
would.
what? But that's something that I have promised myself that I'm going to tweak my brain. I'm going to go and take a full on, just looked at it the other day, a full on swimming class because I do not want to live with that trauma and I want to face my fear, yet do it anyway. I may not be out there kayaking or waterboarding with you, but at least I know that if we are in a pool and it is beyond 5 feet, that I would be able to get across and feel comfortable. So we have to be able to embrace those things that we are afraid of, you know.
Absolutely.
And you got to be cautious now. Like I said, I'm not going to be trying to swim out in the ocean. I'm not doing that,
So have you ever
but
done EFT?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So emotional freedom technique is wonderful for phobias. It's also
So I can tap away my fear of water. You think? Oh,
Well, it's not just tapping. Emotional freedom technique runs the gamut of the muscles that are in the face and chest and hands, but they're based on acupressure points that speak to the right, lighting the right side up and the left side up so that they can
hmm.
create a problem solution way so that you are actually on board with going to the class, that you're actually on board with learning this technique. So when you do EFT, it actually works the right side and the left side to create a solution for you. And it starts working and it lasts for about 3 weeks and after it's done, but you actually get yourself committed. And it's through the acceptance of, I have this problem, but I'm committed to doing this effort. And so effort is everything when you look at acupressure. So once we get EFT going in brain therapy, we actually have commitment. And the commitment is what
Oh,
gets you through to your destination or your desired outcome.
well, that's an aha moment. That's very valuable. Thank you so much for that. Um, if you were an appliance in the kitchen, Rose, what appliance would you be?
Um, I'd have to be a microwave because I'm fast.
I love it.
I am not, I love patience and I am a very patient person, but I love instant gratification. So,
Hmm.
and I'm very impulsive.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're gonna
Well,
do
go
it.
ahead.
Let's do it. Let's get it done.
Go ahead and get it done. I can appreciate that. Yeah, I normally like to be the refrigerator, but today I'd probably be the spice grinder.
Ooh, tell me why.
Yeah, yeah, because I want to bring a little flavor to it. I like the way that it just makes everything so aromatic. When you mix everything together, it's just a warm smell. And I'm into aromatherapy. That's my PB&J. I keep one of these little things from Thailand on my desk all the time to awaken and stimulate my senses. That helps me focus. If you could have a conversation with a 25-year-old Rosemary Monk, what would you say to her?
Neuroplasticity.
Really?
I would because your brain is basically like soft butter. If I took your brain out of your head and threw it on the floor, it would just splash.
Mm. Mhm.
So throughout my life, I hated water. I drank everything but water. I would hydrate because neuroplasticity is based on how you hydrate your brain, and it's pretty much 80% oil, so how you eat. And I ate junk food. I mean, I loved baking. I loved cookies, loved cakes. So with neuroplasticity, you have to mold and shape your brain in order to understand how it stretches and reshapes itself as you age. And you can do it at any age. It used to be believed that you can't change your brain after a certain age, but you can teach an old brain new tricks. So you can rewire, and neuroplasticity is a fact. It's not just some idea anymore. So I like that. I would say, hey, learn about neuroplasticity because if I knew how to take care of my brain when I was 25, I would have had a lot less problems when I got concussions.
Mm.
I would have had a lot less problems with grief and have
Mm.
so much easier time in college, right? Yeah, take care of your brain. Don't ever put anything in your mouth that's bad for your brain.
Okay, that makes sense. And as I'm studying nutrition, I heard a couple things, like certain canola oils or certain, sugar, of course. Those two things can really be an impactor, but they can also uh, change your life if you kind of change your eating habits. Eating has a lot to do with, what you put in your mouth. You are what you eat.
Yeah.
Does this also, again, go in alignment with nutrition?
It does. It does. So, a lot of times, if we do not eat right for our brain, we have deficiencies. And that's what I was talking about earlier. You can have a deficiency, but that's medical, it's not mental. And a lot of people that come to me, they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in menopause and I'm going crazy. No, you're deficient in something. Let's get your lab work done. So, a
Mm,
lot of times, it's how we have eaten throughout our life has given us an imbalance somewhere. But if you think about emotions being a guest in your brain, so
mm,
like think of, you said you're a party animal. So let's think about our brain throws a party. Emotions are always the first to get invited, and they are the best on the guest list. So all emotions, because you're actually free and you're doing things inside of an enjoyment area. And when the brain therapy teaches you to be the bouncer of those emotions.
mm,
So if it sneaks up on you and you start to get a rise, you actually know how to handle that instead of going, why did you say that? You can actually
right.
go, and
You're
you can
not so reactionary.
yeah, you can respond instead of reacting, and you actually can use that to your advantage. So things that sneak up on you, those are usually um, you're having a hard time you're reacting, you're reactive, you're not responding the way you want. That's
Mm,
usually dehydration. It's usually the way we eat or took care of ourselves for the few days before we got there because we needed to lose a little weight to fit into our dress,
mm,
whatever we were trying to do.
right. Absolutely.
But we
Absolutely.
still
And
have
also, as I've studied, it can be your genomes, your epigenetics
Mhm.
passed down because, culturally, what you ate, how you didn't eat. Um,
Even while you're pregnant, it does.
right. Yeah. They said that is huge. That can make a big difference. Well,
Yep.
you have been a wealth of information. Thank you so much. And you've been so fun. And I'm so glad that you're safe and your dogs and your horses and your significant other are safe. Just try to keep your head above water. like I,
Of course.
like I will, no pun intended. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you. I'd love for them to work with you and to get more information.
Well, you can hop over to my website, soulsupportnow.com, or you can find me on Eventbrite. I hold free talks that help people with um, brain and body hour. I also hold um, informational talks that are small fee based, just if you want to get a little bit more information on boosting the neurotransmitters that you need. I also hold retreats. Retreats are a way, so a lot of people can't take an hour off every week to come meet with me. So a lot of times they just want to take a weekend and they need to get away and they need some intensive um, work and a way around just being themselves. So getting back to what they want to do or getting a new lifestyle change. So I hold a lot of retreats that work with women for emotional escalation. I also hold retreats for mom and daughters and first responders. Um, and I'm thinking about starting a few new ones, but we do these about 5 or 6 a year, and they work really well. So outside of the programs that we offer, retreats are just the best thing.
Are they located where you live? Are they on your property? Or are
No,
you take them in different locations? Because
yeah,
you were talking about your horses, and I have had a few previous guests that have been on that talk about the amazing work and transformation with horse therapy and connecting
it,
with the horses. They say it's just
it saves years. So one thing that you don't know about me is my 15-year-old was killed in the crosswalk. And when she died, um, I had a really, really hard time being a therapist. You would think you would know how to handle grief. And I've handled grief. I lost my parents when I was young. I've lost a set of twins. I've lost, you know, four sisters. There's been a lot of loss in my life, but when my daughter died, for some reason, I felt like I was challenged. And I reached out to a rescue, and that's where I got my horses because I knew the power and the harmony that you can get from a horse. And I saw my jet, and I thought, you and I are going to grow old together. And I'll tell you what, he healed me. He healed me. It is true. It is true. So I hold retreats here locally, and we do visit the horses for trauma. And I also hold them locally here just because I know the area and I love boating and we do a lot of things like that. But Tennessee is another place that we'd hold retreats, and Charleston, I like Charleston. We have something coming up in Georgia as well. So we kind of go where we think we might be able to have a good package, which one of the retreats I want to do is in St. Augustine. They have the lights around the holidays that last until the end of January, and their whole city just lights up, and it just lights up my life. I love that place. And they have a downtown that is just drenching with history. And so one of the things that I love to do is to bring a little bit of history in and a little bit of excitement and soothing calmness as well as the beach. So if you still like to go to the beach, St. Augustine has a wonderful beach. It has a wonderful downtown area. And around the holidays, it is the most beautiful place I have been.
Well, the most beautiful place that you are is inside your own head, and that is exuding out to us. Thank you so much, Rose, for being here with us, for sharing your light, encouraging people to really check in, tap in to your brain. Brains, it is a muscle, and you can get a cramp.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Go in, brains. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Check out, I'm going to put all of her information in the back. Check out her website. Check out the retreats. You know, if you've never been in a retreat, it's an experience. It's really cool. You meet people. First day, everybody's kind of welcoming themselves, trying to get acclimated. But after breakfast, let me tell you, you have friends for life.
You
Okay.
do, you do. And we work on a community as well. So it's join the sisterhood when you join.
It
Yeah,
is so
we
wonderful.
actually have a Facebook group, and after you do a retreat with us, if you are a woman, we have a women's society. And if you are not a woman, we have Soul Support, which is a group of supporters, and they work together, they work with each other, and they stay friends for life. It is a community that has helped me.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. And then you also have a resource. You
Yep.
know, you've got somebody that can share in your experience and that cares. You know, a lot of times you have friends and, you know, they seem like they care until you've brought up that conversation two or three times, and then now you're getting on their nerves. But now you have somebody that has walked the walk with you. So thank you so much for letting us walk a mile in your shoes, Rosemary Monk. You are the best.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. Bye, brains.